Wait, are you gaming? On a Chromebook?
Yep. It's got a high-res 120Hz display, plus this killer RGB keyboard. And I can access thousands of games anytime, anywhere.
Stop playing.
What?
Get out of here.
Huh?
Yeah, I want you to stop playing and get out of here so I can game on that Chromebook.
Got it.
Discover the ultimate cloud gaming machine, a new kind of Chromebook.
Earlier this year, we produced a segment on the importance of learning personal finance basics in the classroom. In that story, we touched on how many school curriculums don't spend enough time on critical real-life skills, like how to budget or when to open a credit card account. All too often, the full focus, both at home and school, is on doing well in graded subjects and on standardized exams. This can put a lot of academic pressure on young people, making them feel like it's all or nothing if they don't pass that test or get into their dream college. It can also lead to many students post-high school struggling to stay afloat once they're living on their own. One expert who sees this firsthand over and over again is Homayoun, an academic advisor and early career development expert. Over the years, she's helped thousands of adolescents and young adults navigate these challenges.
For example, I had a parent call my office 3 weeks ago, and her daughter had always done academically really well in school, and then ended up getting into a college and going to that college, a very highly prestigious college that parents are very excited about her attending. And she's now on academic probation a year later because many of the life skills, so getting herself up, getting to class, managing her meals, making sure she takes her medicine, making sure she's turning in her work, being able to organize and prioritize her time, she really is struggling with.
Homayoun is also the author of Erasing the Finish Line, the new blueprint for success beyond grades and college admissions. She says that as a society, we put a big emphasis on academic achievement, yet gloss over countless real-life skills that are the foundation for happiness and success.
That was actually the number one thing I found in my research, is that just simply getting up, waking up, having a morning routine, and getting where you need to be on time is actually really undervalued. So again, back to that example of this mom who called my office, and she was like, I basically took care of everything other than academics for my child. And now that my child has gone to college, she doesn't know how to manage her life in addition to school.
To avoid this, Homayoun recommends that every parent do an audit. This means asking, what are the tasks that I routinely take care of that my child eventually needs to learn how to do themselves? This is probably a long list, but can include life tasks like learning to cook, paying a bill, getting an oil change, and so on. This list should also cover soft skills like being on time, staying organized, and juggling multiple to-dos at once.
And how can you work with them, collaborate with them? So don't just wake up one day and be like, I am no longer doing any of these things, it's on you. But how can you collaborate with them? And I usually recommend getting together, both creating lists of, the parent saying, okay, these are the things that I'm doing, the child saying, okay, these are the things my parent or caregiver takes care of. And then having the child decide what are one or two things that I'm going to take responsibility for, whether that is doing my laundry, whether that is getting up and getting ready for school and getting my morning routine down without any reminders, whether it is doing homework without distractions. Every kid is different. Every kid within a family is different.
And if you're listening and you're an adult, you might realize that you also tend to lean on a partner, friend, or family member for certain tasks. Now is the best time to step outside of that comfort zone. Homayoun points out that practicing social skills also fits within this category. During the pandemic, millions of young people lost the opportunity to develop this trait.
What's really key to remember is that we as adults model these skills. We know the research shows that there's increased loneliness across basically all age levels, and that kids really want to feel connected, but often they don't know how. Family modeling is really important. So when you go to an event, how do you interact or engage with people you don't know, right? How big is your social circle? Do you have conversations, even small talk conversations, with people you engage with on a low stakes level? So maybe it's the person that walks the dog and you see them every day, or maybe it's the barista at the coffee shop. Are you engaging in a way that is positive and uplifting? And it doesn't mean we always have to be on and having all these conversations, but it does mean that we need to make sure that every child has the opportunity to practice their small talk skills.
Because the reality is that many young people aren't getting enough face-to-face interaction as is. A 2022 survey published by the nonprofit research firm Common Sense Media found that kids between the ages of 8 and 12 spent about 5.5 hours in front of a screen per day. For teens aged 13 to 18, the average was 8.5 hours. With so much time spent silent and scrolling, it's necessary to carve out time for in-person conversations.
I encourage kids when they start a new school year or if they start a new school to make the goal of introducing themselves to 3 to 5 new people each week. And when I have brought that into middle schools, I've gone at the beginning of the year and I've talked to all the students. I had a principal call me 6 months into the school year and she said, this has totally changed the way kids are engaging with each other because they're now going out of their way, not just to introduce themselves to their classmates, but also to the teachers. And I have kids coming up to me. And the whole thing about introducing yourself to 3 to 5 new people each week is it goes beyond the, hi, how are you? Where did you go to elementary school? And it's really about having, a several question or several minute conversation with new people.
While it may seem small or silly, this assignment can help young people form new friendships and create a framework for speaking skills that are critical later in life.
Right now, I'm working with a lot of recent college graduates who are having a really tough time having those informational interviews for jobs because the idea of meeting someone new and trying to have a conversation with them, even for 15, 20 minutes, seems like a boulder, right? And so we want to lower what I call the activation energy, the amount of energy it takes for you to do something like that. And practice really makes it a lot easier.
There are always going to be external pressures and challenges, but creating a solid framework of skills will serve you better in the long run. Homayoun points to one of her past clients who's now in his early 30s. For a long time, he didn't know exactly where he fit in career-wise.
He always knew he was really interested in college athletics. And then over the course in time, he, went away, he did other things, but he always knew that's what he wanted to do. So he came back and saw me actually in his late 20s. And we talked about it. And then he was getting his MBA and he started applying for these jobs. And he applied to over 150 different jobs. And he ended up getting a job that he loves in data analytics. And that didn't exist when he was in middle school. And so to think about, he's thriving in this job. But then when I went to interview him, he said, Anna, all of these skills that I learned in your office around blocking out time, around compartmentalizing time and focusing on one thing, around planning out my week and creating different work blocks to do different work tasks, around organizing and planning my communication, all of those things I'm using in my job today that I learned earlier, but I just didn't use it. So it's this idea is if we can expand perspective to look that there's not just one pathway, it also decreases the overwhelm that kids are feeling because they feel like it's only one way of success.
To find out more about this topic and our guest, Anna Homayoun, head to viewpointsradio.org. Also, check out her book, Erasing the Finish Line, now available in select stores and online. For more behind the scenes, follow Viewpoints Radio on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. This segment was written and produced by Amira Zaveri. Our studio manager is Jason Dickey. I'm Marty Peterson. Coming up next week.
You can give it descriptors like be brief, be informal, be professional, be kind.
Don't quite know how to interact with AI? We dive into all things ChatGPT this week. Then,
Somebody is worried about me, is seeing me, and is trying to take care of me.
Maui, Morocco, Libya. How to help victims of natural disasters in more ways than one. I'm Marty Peterson.
And I'm Gary Price. These stories in depth on your public affairs magazine, Viewpoints.
And that's Viewpoints for this week. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to learn more about upcoming shows and find a library of past programs on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Spotify. Plus, you'll always find previous segments and more information about our guests at viewpointsradio.org. Join us again next week for another edition of Viewpoints.